You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment. Make sure you subscribe and check out the playlist.
I grew up hearing gunshots in the late night. Ghetto bird, police sirens as a mother cries. Just another victim of the Soundbrown genocide. Locals posted, locked and loaded, ready to take lives. And when they heard the chieflet, they would duck up out of sight. Like your car when the sun down, it was mission time. You had to stay alert, cause bullets always travel blind. We stayed posted, we stayed drinking, and we getting high. Marchando down the enemy's neighborhood as we ride. Put the hood, put the glife sample, fuck their side. No regrets, but the truth is no peace of mind.
G-File.
Now here we have, starting off with Topo City. Now Topo City is an old school neighborhood. It was around since the 1940s. Right there on Gardena Street and Flores Street between 7th and 5th is where you can find Topo City. Or as they're known as the Torpedoes. Is the other name that they go by, the Torpedoes. Now, there used to be an active old school neighborhood going at it, you know, pretty much with some of the Verdugo says, like Mount Vernon. You know, they went at it with Mount Vernon pretty heavily. But they weren't really a big neighborhood, you know, so they were roughly small. So, you know, you rarely see them up now, you know, due to the fact that the Verdugo gangs are so big, you know, and so many of them, and, you know, they all go at it with Topo, so it made recruitment a lot harder, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, man, you know, you can still find them right there representing their neighborhood and doing their thing. Alright, before I get started on the first neighborhood right here in West Side Verdugo. Now Verdugo is split into two sections, well, three actually. You have West Side Verdugo, East Side Verdugo, and South Side Verdugo. South Side only having one neighborhood, which is the Flats, Verdugo Flats. So these neighborhoods are exactly kind of like Compton is, Linwood, Pacoima, and all those neighborhoods where they claim West Side Verdugo. East Side Verdugo's neighborhoods claim East Side Verdugo, and then West Side Verdugo's neighborhood claim West Side Verdugo, where it's different neighborhoods, but they put the West Side Verdugo in front of their neighborhoods. But even though they're different neighborhoods, they all get along, and they're all like one. They're separate gangs, but in reality, they're one big whole gang. You get what I mean? But they're individual neighborhoods, you know. I know it gets a little complicated when a neighborhood runs like that, when it's structured like that. It's kind of like if it has cliques. It's kind of like if they're cliques, but they're their own separate gang. You get what I mean? You know, it gets kind of complex. But yeah, starting right here with the oldest one out of all of them, which would be the Sur Crazy Ones. Now, the Sur Crazy Ones, well, they roughly started around the same time as the 7th Streets, but the Sur Crazy Ones have been around since the 1940s. Is when the West Side Verdugo's neighborhoods started to be established, and then, you know, they were recognized in the 1950s or whatever. The term Verdugo is not like West Side Verdugo is not a gang in itself, right? It's the area that they claim, you know, because they're separate neighborhoods, you know. And Verdugo is the term that the community gives for the area where the where the Hispanics at, you know, and the west side of Verdugo, you know. That's why it's called, you know, Verdugo. That's what they call it, you know what I mean? Kind of like, you know, kind of like in San Diego, the Italians have the area where they call it WAP, you know what I mean? Or Italians call certain spots the boroughs, you know, same right here, you know, they labeled it Verdugo. That way, you know, what side of San Bernardino they were staying at, you know what I mean? That's where that term came from. The Sur Crazy Ones, I know people sometimes get them confused thinking that they used to be a tagging crew. They were never a tagging crew. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe because of the, you know, the name of the neighborhood, you know what I mean? But nah, they were never a tagging crew. You know what I mean? Their neighborhood is right there on Baseline Street. So what's Baseline Street and 16th Street? You know what I mean? Right there by the close to the 215 freeway. You know what I mean? That's where their neighborhood's at. You know, that's where you can find them. Now, the Verdugo gangs definitely do not get along with the LA gangs. Anytime any LA neighborhoods move there, now it's different. You know what I mean? But back then, anybody that was from LA that moved to San Bernardino, I mean, these guys were on and cracking. They were letting them have it. You know what I mean? They just didn't want nobody, you know, trying to move in there and trying to, you know, like take theirs. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like why they had like massive beef with the East Side 13 neighborhood, Florence, King Boulevard Stoners, you know, and those neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, it got hectic there so much that what these guys used to put in work, that the Sur Crazy ones and the 7th Streeters were the first neighborhoods in San Bernardino to get the gang injunction. You know what I mean? That's how much these guys were putting in work and running amok, man. That these guys, they had to. Now here you have the 7th Streeters, Westside Verdugo 7th Street. You'll see it hit up 7th, or you'll see it hit up the CSL, which stands for Calle Siete Locos. You know, the term that they use is in Spanish, because they write it like that more often than 7th. You know what I mean? Now their neighborhood's right there on 16th and 5th, so everything that's in between, you know, so it's 15 and 6th, and then, you know, obviously 5th and 7th, you know, so from 5th all the way to 7th, you know, is their neighborhood. You know, roughly around the same time as the Sur Crazy was, so the 1950s, you know, late 40s, 1950s. So they're old school neighborhood, they deep, you know what I mean? One of the largest, you know, next to the Sur Crazy ones. You know, like, they definitely be putting in work and handling business, you know. Free my homie Sicko from my rap label. That's the part of Verdugo that he's coming from and representing. You know what I mean? Homie, check out his music on the playlist. Homie gets down. And he'll be coming home soon. You know what I mean? He'll be coming home soon. So get, you know, recording back again. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, they free the homie Sicko, and shout out to all the homies, you know, from 7th that be doing their thing right there and representing him and putting it down. You know what I'm saying? Now here you have Westside Verdugo Mount Vernon Gang, MTG Mount Vernon Gang. You know, it's one of the ones that's large in size as well. They're by the freeway on Mount Vernon, obviously. You know what I mean? You know, it's definitely be active right there. They get it cracking. You see the activity is one of the, I would say, like the worser parts of San Bernardino. You know what I mean? You definitely hear about them and more because that's the neighborhood that Payaso and Travieso from Teen Angel Records, that's where they're from. This is their neighborhood, Mount Vernon Gang. You know, so they've been putting it on the map for them for a cool minute. And yeah, you know, they be right there representing and holding it down for the Mount Vernon Gang. You know what I mean? Definitely deep in numbers and definitely do their thing. Here you have the counts. Now the counts is separate ones. You have the counts, and then you have the little counts, you have the junior counts, you have the royal counts, you know, the lady counts. That's how they break down their neighborhood, you know, with their sub-cliques. The little counts has to be the deepest because they're the most active ones, the ones that you see up the most and the ones that be running amok. You know what I mean? The counts is already the old school vatos, or the veteranos, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, the counts is definitely right there, been holding it down, you know, same time period in the 1950s. And yeah, man, be putting in work for their neighborhood and holding it down and going at it with everybody, you know, like Verdugo Flats, man. There's heavy beef right there between these neighborhoods. You know what I mean? But hey, nonetheless, man, they be right there representing and holding it down. Here we have Eastside 13. Now, I'm not going to mention Florence and King Boulevard Stoners and the Verdugo San Bernardino portion of it, only because they don't claim San Bernardino, they don't claim SB, they claim LA. You know, even though they have cliques out here, they don't want to be associated themselves with San Bernardino. So therefore, I'm leaving them out. But Eastside 13 does write SB, and they do actually say that they have a clique out there in San Bernardino. So therefore, they're proud to be from San Bernardino. So therefore, they're added to the San Bernardino portion, you know, because they claim that site as their home as well. So you can find them right there on Fairfax. Here we have the 187 Murder Block, the Manos Boys. You know, you can find them right there on Foothill Boulevard and King Street. You know, so in between Macy's and Terrace Street is their neighborhood. Now, they're roughly small, roughly one of the new batch, you know, not new batch, but I'm saying, like, you know, they weren't as old as, let's say, the Sur Crazy Ones or the Counts or the Sevens. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, man, you know, even though they're small, and probably the only clique that has some trouble with the other Verdugo cliques. Nonetheless, man, they be right there representing and holding it down for their neighborhood. You know, they ain't no pushovers. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they definitely with the business and be right there representing and handling that. You know, handling their stuff. You know what I mean? All right, here we have Eastside Verdugo. Now the east of the 215 freeway. These neighborhoods are a lot smaller. You know, due to the fact that Westside Verdugo neighborhood started way before Eastside Verdugo's neighborhoods. But nonetheless, Eastside Verdugo's neighborhoods, they still go way back to the 1960s. Here you have Meadowbrook. So it's Meadowbrook Barrio Rifa or Meadowbrook Verdugo Rifa. Your neighborhood's right there on 2nd Street and Sierra Way. By Mills and Waterman Avenue is where their neighborhood's at. You know, you hear about them doing their thing. You know, they're a decent sized neighborhood. You know, and definitely be the one that you hear on the east side of Verdugo representing and holding it down. You know what I mean? They definitely, you know, with the business going at it with the, you know, the rest of the neighborhoods around there. Especially like I said, the LA neighborhoods. You know, there's conflicts between the. Here you have Waterman Gardens right there, where the Waterman Gardens apartment slash kind of projects be at. They're a small neighborhood. Only been around since the 80s, early 80s. You don't see or hear about them as much as of lately. You know what I mean? Like, cause you can catch more like Eastside Verdugo's, like the rest of the neighborhoods. You know, like by those, you know, by Waterman Gardens. You know what I mean? So they used to be deep at one point. I just don't know what happened. You know, like. Recruitment for them got difficult, you know, because you don't really see them up or hear about them as much anymore. But nonetheless, man, that's who they are, WG, and representing right there for the neighborhood. Here's another Eastside Verdugo neighborhood that you hear about that's been around since the early 80s, late 70s, which is called Dwight Way Gang. People sometimes think that it's a black neighborhood. I don't know if it's because the way it sounds or because they put gang, but most of the Verdugo gangs do that, like Mount Vernon gang, you know what I mean? But yeah, nonetheless, that's who they are, you know, and you can find them right there on Dwight Way, obviously, you know, and by the school. They be representing right there. They're kind of small in size, but nonetheless, man, they ain't no pushovers, and they definitely be representing for the east of Verdugo. And holding it down, you know, going at it with like Verdugo Flats and all the surrounding neighborhoods, you know what I mean? And they be representing right there. And here we have Verdugo Flats. Now, Verdugo Flats is, you know, old school. They go back all the way since the 60s as well, early 50s. I mean, late 50s. Now, Southside, you see them Southside Flats or Southside Verdugo Flats or Verdugo Flats, you know, with the G2, Verdugo Gang. They used to be known as the Marihuanos. But then they changed it, you know, to Verdugo Flats. You can find them right there on 3rd Street and Grant Avenue on Moscot, you know, by Congress Street, because, you know, and Pear Street, because, you know, those are their cliques, you know, from their neighborhood. Now they large in numbers, and the only neighborhood in Southside Verdugo, and you know they run the shebang. You know they definitely be right there holding it down, going at it with the rest of the Verdugo neighborhoods, because none of the Verdugo neighborhoods seem to like the flats, and yeah, but that's who they are, and they be right there representing. Here we have East Valley Verdugo, which is called Valles. I wasn't really able to get no info on these guys, but they're a neighborhood that's right here, so just wanted to just throw them out there.